Ah, what a wonderful place to relax than in the quiet and peace of the forest. But not all of these trees are secure enough for people to touch. Unbelievably, there are some trees that are so dangerous that even standing too close to them might result in death. There are trees that generate poisons that are deadly, trees whose trunks are covered in thorns, and trees whose seeds have the explosive power of a hand grenade. The peacefulness of the forest is suddenly lost. In order to help you, let me be your guide. Some of the most dangerous trees in the world and plants you must absolutely never touch. Trippy Tree. The lovely blossoms hanging from this tree are seen at a glance. Actually steal the show. Angel's trumpets is the name given to the beautiful petals. But once you understand them a little better, you understand that they should be known as devil's trumpets. This plant's scientific name is Brugmansia. Additionally, it was formerly only found in the wilds of South America. Even if it is now much more easily accessible, even in your garden, perhaps. Many people view Brugmansia as a flowering plant. Ideal to have in a pot outside. However, don't be deceived, it's also one of the most dangerous trees you can plant. Both to people and animals, these plants' poisons have lethal potential. Brugmansia can reach higher heights in their natural climates. 20 feet tall overall, the tree a foot-long trumpet-shaped carpet of flowers. Be careful, though, as coming into contact with this plant can result in anticholinergic syndrome in the central nervous system, leaving victims completely disoriented and paralyzed. Due of its extreme hazard, ecologists frequently must work with it while wearing hazmat suits. But there's more. The poison can also cause hallucinations, both visual and auditory. Studies show that hallucinations are harmful, they're terrifying, so this is a tree that may give you the worst nightmares appear right before your eyes. A young man was admitted to the hospital in 2006 after drinking a cup of trumpet tea from Red Angel. While it appeared that he was looking for a high, I was in the middle of an intense delusion. He severed his trumpet and tongue. That certainly qualifies as a horrible trip. The Little Apple of Death. Imagine yourself relaxing on Caribbean beaches, considering the trees that line the coastline could offer some well-deserved cover. However, you should note that these trees are identified by a string of red bands. You must get your towel and water wings and leave that area as quickly as you can. The Manchineel tree is the reason behind this. One of the world's most dangerous trees. The sap of the tree, which is milky white, is filled with powerful enough skin irritants that it blisters when in contact with them, as well as second-degree burns. This sap contains extremely hazardous irritants that even a drop in your eye would be harmful. It might result in blindness. And that's only the start. The sap is a danger since rainwater can dilute it. Even to stand beneath as the solution drops off wet leaves. And if you breathe in the evaporating contaminated rainfall, it's still irritatingly potent. And burn your lungs. This sap's effects are so deadly, any Manchineel trunks have started to be marked by the villagers, adding warning signs, red bands, and other elements such that it is obvious that the intensity of it drove her away. Totally incapable of swallowing, additionally, the painful tearing ache in her throat for a long period of time. The only solace she could discover was after drinking down hundreds of icy pina coladas. That's definitely one method to make the trip one to everyone should keep far away. But there are other factors as well that makes the Manchineel horrifyingly hazardous. A tiny green fruit is also produced by it. It is referred to as the beach apple, locally a falsely charming name for a fruit that could be dangerous. Take it from British traveler Nicola, who bit into the green fruit, about the size of a tangerine. That is like a little apple while traveling. It was first lovely and sweet. Afterward, she was gripped by a terrible pain in her throat. They remember. Yet Nicola was fortunate. Others who unintentionally swallowed the fruit have experienced inflammatory and mouths with blisters, significant stomach issues as well. Thus, if you see an unusual Caribbean beach with fruit that lacks a cocktail umbrella, stay away from peeking out of it at all costs. Ominous oranges. You would be forgiven if you passed this tree. For its large, bulbous fruits were oranges of some kind. However, if you dismantled one, you'd pick everything up quickly. They aren't your typical oranges. If you took it a step further and chose to eat on this fruit, there's a possibility. If you did, no one else would ever hear about it. The Strychnus nux vomica is the reason behind this. Frequently referred as the strychnine tree. Strong toxin strychnine permeates the tree as a whole, but particularly in the seeds. When consumed in large doses, strychnine can result in excessive muscular contractions not under your control. The muscles could twitch, rapidly tightening and flexing until the top of the head. The position of the neck and spinal column becomes a bridging arch that is a painful yoga position. Despite not being a pose you should be practicing, due to the ongoing demands of that kind of position resulting in asphyxiation in the end. And I found downward dog to be challenging. The tree itself is indigenous to Southeast Asia and India. Astonishingly, it is attributed with reducing the spread of the bubonic plague in these areas. That's as a result of its destroyed fruits. The rat populations in Europe that brought the lethal virus to these countries. The strychnine tree is still widely used today as a source of poison for rats. So if you ask me, it would be best to let the rats handle this. Hopefully, this is the only time you'll come across the trees in this video. Might be any of these scary ones. In relation to that, if you've discovered anything thus far, please click the like and subscribe buttons below. Great, everything is finished. What comes next? Brutal Bunyas. Ah, Australia, the place where almost anything may be found. Can cause death. If you're courageous enough to trek into the woods, and are really cautious, you could believe you are secure from anything harmful, such as spiders and snakes. But remember to glance above, because down under everything is harmful, even the trees. Usually reaching heights of over 100 feet having brittle and pointy leaves, bunya pines are old trees that have persisted since about 199 million years ago, during the Jurassic period. When handling the leaves, protective equipment must be worn. Or branches, but the leaves aren't the biggest issue. In the period from December to March, large pine cones from these trees, each weighing as much as 40 pounds. That is a seed around the size of a typical 5-year-old. Which can drop from a 9-story building's height. I don't want to be positioned next to that tree. Sean Mace was present when it occurred. Sean was sleeping under a bunya pine in the year 2015. When an unexpected 16-pound pine cone appeared. Landed directly on his skull. That might sound a little absurd, but Sean needed 2 major operations. And the impact had him with probable permanent brain damage. Not exactly a funny topic. Despite how terrifying that is, pine cones from bunyas aren't altogether bad. The edible seeds inside are a stable component. Numerous Australian Aboriginals' diets. There were still hand and foot grips carved into many trees. Used by indigenous peoples, the bunya pine cones for harvest, because they weren't dumb enough to watch them until they hit their heads. As a result, if you want to travel to Australia, pack all of the necessary items. A hard hat, swim shorts, and sunscreen. Spikes and grenades. By simply observing this scary tree, I doubt that you need to know this. Must avoid touching it unless you are looking to enlarge your palms with a couple massive new holes. This is a native nightmare tree called the Sandbox tree. Of the US and South America's tropical areas. The Sandbox tree can reach heights of 100 feet. Additionally known as the monkey no-climb tree. This is rather visible given that its bark is covered. Sharp spikes that resemble daggers. It can develop to be longer than an inch. Yes, I too would not want to climb it. It gets worse since the tree secretes a sap. It is a severe irritant, capable of making anyone blind. Unfortunate to have it land in their eyes. What a serious tree this is. But why does it seem so terrifying? Well, everything is done to safeguard its precious fruit. Which like little, cute pumpkins. However, when the soft flesh dries up, it leaves behind dried and hardened seed capsules. These are the hand grenades of the botanical world. The seeds fall to the ground after they reach maturity and blow up, flinging their flat, hard seed capsules with top speeds of 150 miles per hour. Thus, the seed capsules are spread outside of the parent tree to give them sufficient means of germination and development. Despite the fact that seed explosions have reportedly occurred similar to a gunshot in volume. And with that rapid fire from its filthy shrapnel, if I were you, I'd make sure not to be in that line of fire, grievous Jimpai. Now, not only trees make up the environment, the dreadful flora of our world. A deceptively delicate dark green plant from Australia with leaves in the shape of hearts and fluffy white fur looks like it would make / the ideal addition to a bouquet for a Valentine. But you're much more likely to be lost forever. This is the Jimpy plant, as you can see. Additionally referred to as the stinging tree. The tiny white hairs are actually needles, loaded with a potent neurotoxin called moroidin that is torturous painful. The worst part, though, is that it doesn't deteriorate over time, victimizing someone for days, months, or even years in the event that the Jimpai needles are not extracted from the skin. The stinging agony is so terrible. Traditions in the area mention horses stung by this plant as being insane and flying over cliffs. To put an end to their suffering, Marina Hurley, an entomologist and ecologist, while examining the plant for a study, referred to the sting as the most painful type of pain. You may compare it to getting burned by hot acid at the same moment as being electrocuted. The sting has been compared to by others as equivalent. A picnic from hell, with 30 wasp stings, risky even to stand close to the Jimpai. Because the little needles could fly away by the wind. Additionally, if you inhale them, your respiratory system will suffer greatly from them. Okay, I'll change that Australian essential list. Swimming trunks from before, sun protection, a gas mask and a hard helmet. Have I missed anything? The cold killer tree. While the Manchineel tree of the Caribbean is recognized as the most dangerous tree in the universe, it's not the only dangerous plant in the Caribbean. The dense canopies are known as the Pisonia Tree. These plants support birds in their branches to build nests. Now, like many plants, the Pisonia relies its seeds far away on animals from the parent plants to prevent them from competing for resources. Consequently, the Pisonia releases sticky seeds that stick to themselves, effectively adapted to the feathers of the bird. However, the Pisonian plan included something seriously went wrong. Birds avoid the pods because they are so sticky. Become totally helpless, with some carrying 200 more seeds. Without the ability to fly or move, even set themselves free. Eventually, the poor birds die from starvation, exhaustion, may fall victim to shrewd predators. However, the most concerning aspect is that botanists no idea why the tree behaves in this manner. Researchers carried out a number of investigations. They came to the conclusion that the tree receives zero benefits from its abundance of bird dead. It might be an evolutionary mechanism for the tree to fight off predators that are currently extinct? Or perhaps it's an evanescent genetic anomaly. It has simply crossed the line? That or this tree, I suppose, just truly hates birds. Killer coconuts. An old urban legend claims that coconuts are fatal. More than 150 people annually, by falling down trees from great heights and giving them a head crack. But, fortunately, this is wholly untrue. It's a made-up statistic, popularized by activists for sharks to show the very small quantity from a shark attack: 10 casualties and 10 fatalities annually on average due to sharks. Nevertheless, that isn't sour. Coconuts are timid. With all due respect, if a 4 pounds of coconut 80 feet onto someone's head, the impact would occur at a speed of 50 miles per hour. The impact would be strong, be almost equivalent to a ton of weight. Coconuts also fell from lower heights, have led to admissions to ER for trauma, resulting in head, shoulder, and back injuries. Even fatalities have been related to coconuts. A little child in Hawaii in 1973 was playing in a park when he was fatally injured after one of the neighboring tree's coconuts dropped on them. And a deadly incident involving a falling coconut occurred in 2002. Australia's northern Queensland beach led to the removal of coconut trees by authorities from every beach there. So be cautious about where you choose to nap when on vacation. Alternatively, you might see nothing further once this fruit falls. Hidden honey locust. The honey locust tree's leaves, widely prevalent in the US, in the fall, they take on an amazing color of orange. But beware, for hidden dangers exist beneath those leaves. Thorns that resemble sharp spears and are roughly 4 inches long, although some can grow up to 11 inches long. Knives with blades longer than 2.5 inches must be flicked are typically prohibited from carrying in most US states. I think it's safe to say that this tree is seriously gangster. The blossoms have a powerful, sweet aroma. However, he leaned too close to grab a scent. May bring those thorns to your face. They are so large and vicious that people have heard of them to cause field tractors' tires to puncture. Moreover, some frightening experiences, as they evolve to fight off woolly mammoths, so they won't find humans much of a challenge. Anything written about these thorns piercing people's flesh right through to cause a bone to break. According to theory, the thorns evolved to defend the tree from prehistoric enormous beasts that roamed the world, similar to woolly mammoths, during the most recent ice period. Since then, those species have vanished. However, the honey locust tree has retained its arsenal. On the other hand, the close relative of the honey locust, the black locust tree, uses its prickly branches as weapons. A stage more. The spikes on the black locust tree are fewer and shorter. However, it laced them with the toxic phytotoxin robin, which may result in muscle weakness and renal disease. Thus, if you come upon a tree with sharp spikes, be cautious and avoid. Which of these did you like the least? Tell me in the comments section below. And thanks for watching.